Hi everyone and welcome back to the Roticute podcast. I hope you guys have had a really fantastic week. But in today's podcast I wanted to talk about children's books that were released in 2025 that I am most excited about. I was going to say my most anticipated books, but most of them have been released already. So we'll just go into it and just talk about them and their release dates and and the authors and the beautiful illustrators. So yeah, we'll go into that. So let's get started. So I've decided to break this down into categories of like children's reading ages. So I've got 2 books for like the early year foundation stage, then I've got 3 books for ages 6+, then a category for 9+, 13+, and 15+. So we're just going to go through those. So I'm just going to get started then. So the first book that I wanted to talk about is a new release by Julia Donaldson. It was released on the 10th of April 2025 and published by Macmillan Children's Books. Julia Donaldson is very well known in the children's book world, so you guys are probably very familiar with the Gruffalo, but this is a new book which is part of the Acorn Wood series. It's about Hare, who needs a new dress for a dance. So it's an exciting story about her and her new dress and lots of flaps to like lift up and figure things out. So yes, and Julia Donaldson works a lot with Axel Scheffler, an illustrator. They produced the Gruffalo together, so they're still working together. Axel Scheffler was born in Germany and he's an amazing artist. I'm going to leave links to all of these websites that I've used in this podcast so that you guys can check them out, but his illustrations are phenomenal. I'm going to pop a couple up on the screen so you can see, but yeah, he's a fantastic artist. So he helped with this new release. So I am very excited for it. It's going to be a good one for the little ones. So, yep. The next book that I wanted to talk about for the early years foundation stage is called Mr. Norton's New Hat by Hugh Lewis-Jones. Hugh Lewis-Jones is quite an incredible man, I think. So he's I think he is a professor. Let me get his thing up. I'm pretty sure he is a professor as well. Anyway, so he's an author, teacher. He's very much into promoting environment and adventure. So he's a fantastic person to write books, I think. So he's created this children's book for the younger ones. It was published on the 6th of March 2025. And it's basically about a man called Horace Norton who finds that a mouse has made a house in his hat, and then on the other days of the week other animals have decided to build things in his bike, in his bathroom. So it's quite a little nice adventure of things happening, and it says that there's a message of kindness, so I think it's a beautiful book, and the illustrations are phenomenal. It was illustrated by an amazing illustrator called Corey Egbert. I'm pretty sure he lives in America. Yes, he's based in Virginia. And I mean, just look at those illustrations on the screen right now. Like, it's just fantastic. So a beautiful children's book for those younger ones to learn about adventure and kindness and just exploring Mr. Norton's new hat. So the next category of books that I wanted to talk about is for ages 6+. First book is Marty Moose First Class Mischief by Claire Powell. It was released on the 6th of February 2025 and is published by Walker Books. Claire Powell is an author and illustrator, so the illustrations on this book were by her. So it's basically about Marty Moose, who has his first day on the job as a post mouse, and he gets into some interesting adventures, and it's all about the perilous adventures of letter posting. But I think it looked really, really sweet, and I really like the illustrations, so I thought it was like a nice little, cute little series that he's like ironed his uniform and he's all ready for his first day of work, which feels very relatable at the moment, because that's going to be me on my first day of work. It's like very polished, put together. I just think it's quite cute, like, to imagine that. So it's probably because of my own experiences at the moment. But yeah, so I'm very excited about this. So also, I should say that I haven't read any of these books. I was just doing some research of like new releases in 2025, but now all of these are on my TBR list. So I'm gonna have a very busy year. So we'll see if I can get them all done. But the good thing with children's books is that most of them are shorter, so it should be okay, but we'll see. The next book that I was actually really, really excited about for the 6+ age range is Alice with a Y. It's by Anna James, and it will be released on the 5th of June. So I think that will be the day that this podcast is released, so you guys can go and buy it now. It's really cool because it's a spin-off of Alice in Wonderland. It was published by HarperCollins and illustrated by Matthew Land. Let me just read the synopsis. So it's England 1919. Alice with a Y lives with her grandmother, the original Alice, having lost her father during the Great War. When a mysterious invitation to a tea party hits her square in the face, Alice realises her grandmother's strange stories of a place called Wonderland might have some truth to them after all. But the land Alice finds herself in feels different from the Wonderland of her grandmother's stories, for it is trapped in its own war. The Sun King and the Queen of the Moon are fighting over a stolen hour, and soon Alice is tasked with setting it right. With the help of the With the help of the Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, and a sailor fox, Alice will have to solve Wonderland's problems and eventually find her way back home. I just think it's really, really cool that someone's made a spin-off of the original Alice in Wonderland book. Yeah, so Anna James, let's see. So Anna James is a British writer and journalist who lives in North London. She grew up in Northumberland, and she's had a few different kinds of bookish jobs, including school librarian, a literary scout, a journalist, and now an author. Yeah, I just think this series, Alice with a Y, is just a really great spin-off. So I think that's really, really cool. And then the cover was illustrated by Matthew Land, who grew up on a dairy farm somewhere in the Welsh Hills, and he's a fantastic illustrator. I'll put some of his work up on the screen now. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading this when it comes out, so we'll see how it goes. This one is really exciting as well. I found some really good books. I'm very excited about this. This is called The Secret Lives of Women Spies by Charlotte Philby. I think it's really cool about the backstory. So Charlotte Philby, she was doing a bit of research into women in history, and then kind of discovered that there were lots of stories of women with very courageous women with secrets. So she's going to tell us all about the extraordinary tales involving female spies. So I think it sounds really cool. So I feel like a lot of children would be really inspired by it. So it's going to be released on the 19th of June 2025, and it's published by Penguin or Puffin. I think it's Puffin, Penguin. I think it's Penguin Books. Yeah, Penguin Books. And it was illustrated by Kat Goodlow. Yes, Goodlow. Let's get her. This is Kat Goodlow. She's a fantastic illustrator. Hers is very like pop arty. So Yeah, I'll put these up on the screen so you can see. She lives in Dallas, Texas. I think she's a really cool illustrator. And then a little bit more about Charlotte Philby. I'm going to just read it what it says on the Penguin website. So Charlotte Philby is a critically acclaimed author of 6 novels. As a journalist, she worked for 8 years as a newspaper reporter, editor and columnist at The Independent, where she was shortlisted for the Cudlitz Prize for Investigative Reporting. She is a former contributing editor and features writer at Marie Claire and has written for publications including the Sunday Times, New Statesman and Financial Times. With the support of the BFI, she is currently adapting film her novel Edith and Kim, which reimagines the lives of her grandfather, the double agent Kim Philby, and Edith Tudor Hart, who recruited him to the Soviet cause. Charlotte has 3 children and lives in Bristol. It really makes a lot of sense when you read her biography why she has an interest in like women's spies, considering her novel Edith and Kim. So I just think it's really cool that she's bringing this alive for children to learn about women in history. Now I'm going to talk about the 9+ category. This book is called A Box Full of Murders by Janice Hallett, and it will be released on the 5th of June 2025 published by Puffin or Penguin. I always get them confused. Anyways, so it's about a boy and a girl, Ava and Luke, who discover a mysterious box of papers in their attic and are curious about secrets it might hold. As they read through letters, diary entries, newspaper cuttings and listen to secret recordings, they realise that a decades-old, still unsolved murder mystery is unfolding right in front of them. Ava and Luke decide to try and crack the case themselves, but as they work through the clues, it soon becomes clear that the mystery isn't something left in the past. The killer is still out there and might be closer than they think. You know the facts, you have all the clues. Can you solve the mystery before they do? Doesn't that sound really fun? It actually reminds me, the other day I had some friends over to play Cluedo. It was my first time actually ever playing it, and I'm terrible, so I probably won't be able to solve the mystery before they do, but I still think it's a really fun concept, and I think a lot of younger children will enjoy that. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. And the cover of A Box Full of The cover of A Box Full of Murders was illustrated by Marta Kissy. She has some fantastic illustrations, as you can see on the screen now. Marta Kissy has illustrated beloved series including Mummy Fairy and Me by Sophie Kinsella and Breakfast Club Adventures by Marcus Rashford, as well as Josh Gad's debut picture book Picture Face Lizzie. So, and it says, her favourite part of being a best-selling and award-winning illustrator is bringing stories to life by designing charming characters and the wonderful worlds in which they live. She's originally from Warsaw, but Marta now lives in Bath, England, with her husband James and their son Ollie. So that's a little bit about the illustrator. Now the next book for the 9+ category is The Seaside Sleepover by Jacqueline Wilson. It was released on the 10th of April 2025 by Penguin, and yes, Jacqueline Wilson is very well known for children's books, so I remember reading tons of Jacqueline Wilson books. Let me see, I think here, if I look on her little thing about her books, I mean, she's probably most well known for the Tracy Beaker series that got turned into a TV show. Let me see how many I've read. Let's do a little counter. Mind you, she keeps writing books, so I've not been able to catch up. Alright, I've read Hetty Feather. Gosh, she's written so many. Little Darlings. The Best Sleeper in the World. I don't think I read that. Little Darlings I read. What else? else read? I've read For Children and It, Sleepovers, Lizzie Zipmouth, Best Friends, My Sister Jodie. I think I read The Longest Whale Song. I definitely read The Lottie Project. I've read Cookie, which I remember really loving. I read Lily Alone, Candy Floss. These ones are looking familiar, but I don't think I read any of them. The Worst Thing About My Sister. I've read Queenie, and I think I read Double Act. So how many was that? I'll put a number on the screen. So I definitely read a lot, and I remember I gave them to a friend's younger sister when I was in secondary school, because I obviously kind of lost interest in Jacqueline Wilson, and yeah, she was very happy. So I had a huge stack of Jacqueline Wilson books. So yeah, she was an amazing, she still is an amazing author. I just haven't read much of her books lately, because obviously I'm not 9+ anymore. Well, I am 9+, but I'm not 9. Let's put it that way. And she has worked a lot with Rachel Dean, an amazing illustrator based in northwest of the UK. And yeah, I mean, I love the artwork on Jacqueline Wilson books, and she's the one that's bringing them to life nowadays. So, and this book, the Seaside Sleepover, she illustrated the cover for it. So yeah. Now this one I'm really excited about. I think the whole synopsis sounds really fun. It's Land of the Last Wildcat by Lou Sitt. It was released on the 17th of April 2025 by Macmillan Children's Books. I'm just going to read the synopsis for you. So, Puffin Lau has two problems. Her beloved scientist mum barely speaks to her, and a mythical wildcat called the Curie is depending on her for its survival. Luckily, Puffin grew up on stories of the Curie and its magical powers, and she will stop at nothing to return it to its rightful home. But standing in her way is the ominous Professor Smolt, a money-hungry scientist who wants to capture the Curie and steal its magic. Faced with a mammoth journey to the faraway Linger Island, Puffin and her best friend Lance must evade the Professor and save the last wildcat before it's too late. I think that's an amazing and really important story for children to learn about, like about extinction of animals and protecting animals. So it's a fantastic book to have. And here, let's see about Lou Sitt. She started writing plays at primary school. She then moved on to bad poetry and fanatical journaling, which gave way in later years to academic writing, of which she is not a fan, which feels interesting because I'm the opposite. I really like academic writing. But then she made a deal with herself that once she'd finished with academia, she would write something else. So far, she's tried children's fiction, non-fiction, memoir and short stories. One day, she'd like to write a play again. So yeah, she's an amazing author, and then her book was illustrated by David Dean, or the cover was, and he says that he's in a nondescript town halfway between Manchester and the Peak District National Park. And he says, when I was about 14, I was reading a novel and it suddenly dawned on me that someone had been paid to paint the cover illustration, and that sounded like an amazing job to have, since drawing and reading were my two favourite things. And he says he's done just covers for just over 200 books, and he says it is an amazing job to have. So I think that's really cool, and yeah, as you can see on the screen, his portfolio is phenomenal. He's an amazing illustrator, so yeah, I wish I could do that. I'm nowhere near as good as that. Okay, so the next book, which I think is really exciting, is called Clem Fatale Has Been Betrayed by Eve Wosoki Morris. She's an amazing person. She has dyslexia, and despite that she never let it stop her with writing, and I think that that's just a really inspiring thing to mention to children when talking about this book. So the book was released on the 3rd of April 2025, and it's published by the Little Tiger Press, and the book is based in London 1951. The main character, Clem Fatale, the youngest crook in the city, is on a mission to find her dad. So I'm sure we'll just be going through lots of adventures, lots of spies and mystery and fun things like that. So I think it's an amazing book, and the front cover was illustrated by Honeybeam. Honeybeam or Honeybeam? I'm not sure. Yeah, she's a fantastic artist, illustrator, so you can see these on the page. Yeah. The next book is called The Shrapnel Boys by Jenny Pearson. It's a novel about friendship and courage, and a group of young boys living through the Second World War. So it's quite a good book to maybe relate to the curriculum, I think. So any teachers out there that are doing that? So it was published on the 8th of May 2025 by Usborne Publishing, and the front cover was illustrated by Tom Clahosi Cole. Now let's see if I actually pronounce that right. Yeah, he's a fantastic illustrator as well, as you can see. He says that he loves painting skies and the natural world, and it's his biggest source of inspiration, so that makes a lot of sense why in the front cover it's the boys' silhouettes and then just the sky. Well, not the beautiful sky because it's like bubbles and stuff, but anyways, a fantastic illustration, and I think a really good book to incorporate into the curriculum. And the author of the book is Jenny Pearson, and I think she was a teacher. Yeah, got numerous cards for her role as best teacher in the world. So I think that's amazing when teachers create books, because because we're working with the children, we can kind of see what they need. And I think it's amazing that a lot of teachers do use their own writing abilities to do it for the children that they work with. This book is called Deep Dark by Zora Nabi. It was published on the 27th of March 2025 by Simon and Schuster. The cover art was by a lady called Paula Escobar. She has an Instagram. I couldn't find much information about her. I think she also has a website. The book is about a girl called Cassia Thorne who leads a double life. By day she sells ballads at Bartholomew Fair. By night she spends her evenings locked up in Fleet prison. Cassia has plans of escaping both of these lives, but this year there are rumours of children being snatched off of the streets of London and no one willing to help. So Cassia decides to take matters into her own hands with the help of a young pickpocket, Tio, and her friend Felix. Cassia starts to investigate the disappearances, and she soon discovers a sinister conspiracy at the heart of the city, mysterious men in blue coats, and whispers of a beast that lives in the deep, dark tunnels below the city. Can Cassia get to the bottom of the mystery and rescue the missing children before it's too late? Again, another one that I will not be able to solve before the book tells me what happened, but it sounds really fun. So, and Zora Nabi, she grew up inventing stories for her two younger sisters, and she studied law at Cambridge and Oxford universities, but she always dreamed of being an author, and now she is. So I think she's really cool. Now this book is another one that I felt could be linked to the curriculum.
It's called
Marvellous Messages by Rose Ayling Ellis. It was published on the 27th of March by DK Children
and illustrated by Lena
Adding. And it's basically a book about the history of ancient language, secret codes, yeah, so lots of things about messages. And I just think it looks really cool.
Here's like a couple sneak peeks inside.
So I think it just looks really fun, so I want to read it as well.
I really love
children's books so much, it just makes me so
excited. So
anyways, also interesting about Rose Ayling Ellis is that she's also an actress, which I didn't know, so that was really cool.
And then the illustrator
Lena Adding is based in the Netherlands,
and she's got fantastic illustrations, as you can see.
Now I want to
go into
the 13+ category, which is the second from last. So this book is called I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Young, and it's about a girl whose cousin Jenna Chen, is that right? Oh no, she's Jenna Chen, her cousin is Jessica Chen, and she's like flawless, and it's just kind of learning about being confident and
yeah, developing her
own sense of self. And I just think that that's really like a really important story, especially around that age, like 13+. I feel like it's a really good
story for that age group. So yeah.
Anne Lang is beautiful. She's so pretty. So yeah, she was born in Beijing, grew up travelling back and forth between China and Australia. She now lives in Melbourne, and her Instagram is @AnneLangWrites, so you can
go and have a look at that.
She's stunning. It's not fair. And then her book cover was illustrated by someone called Sophie Sivar, so yeah, enjoy. The next book for
the 13+ category is The Otherwhere Post
by Emily J. Taylor. It was published on the 28th of February by Pushkin Children's Books. The cover was designed by Jim Tierney.
The book is,
let me read the synopsis. 7 years ago, Maeve Abernathy lost everything when her father unleashed a terrible, world-destroying magic. Desperate to escape the stain of his crimes, she lives under a fake name, never staying in one place long enough to risk discovery. That is until she receives a mysterious letter containing 4 impossible words. Your father was innocent. So, I mean, that's already good enough, isn't it, to get you interested? So I think that will be a really good book for those young teenagers who are
interested in mystery. And I feel like I'm
seeing a pattern in my own interests. Next book
is The Royal Heirs Academy
by Lindsay Dugar. It's about a boarding school who breeds the world's next generation of leaders and liars.
Titus
Eldana has always known he'd inherit Ashland's future. Now he must prove he has what it takes.
Alaric
Eldana was not raised with a silver spoon. His second-hand clothes might not be fit for a king, but he knows how to rule with his fist. Emmeline Eldana only wants to please her neglectful parents. If that means securing the crown, she won't hesitate to
destroy anyone in her way. Sadie Aurelia has
no idea why she's been given a chance to bring new blood to the throne.
With nothing left to lose back home,
she's ready to take it. So it's about secret alliances, enemies to lovers, romance, revenge, competition. I think it just sounds
really cool. That's funny. Someone said
Vanity Fair described it as hippie Hogwarts. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
And the cover was
done by Raquel
M. Varela. Again, I could only find an Instagram for her, so I'll leave that down below. The next book is a romance book. It's a love-scape relationship by Carly J. Corson. It's just
a romance, basically.
So, a hockey player and an ice princess. So I just thought if you've got
Younger ones who are into
romance, that might be something that they're into. Carly J. Corson writes about romance and adventure, so she's a good one to keep an eye out for if you have lots of children who are into that. And the cover of the book was illustrated by Nicole Gu.
As you can see, she's an amazing illustrator.
She is from Los Angeles, and yeah, she's just
great. I like her illustrations a lot.
The next book is called
Neaty Little Things by Chanel Desamore.
It's a YA mystery, and there's a black teen with premonition-like powers, it says, and she needs to solve her friend's disappearance before she finds herself in the same danger. So yeah, I think that's just, I think I'm starting to notice a trend in my own interest. Anyways, this book was published on the 4th of February 2025 by Bloomsbury.
And the cover was designed by Kerry Resnick. This book looks really fun.
It's called The Assassin's Guide to Babysitting by Natalie C. Parker. And Natalie C. Parker is an author of young adult books, so YA books. And she grew up in a Navy family, finding home in coastal cities from Virginia to
Japan. Now she lives with her wife
on the Kansas prairie. I just think the concept of this book is really fun. So it's about a girl named True, whose parents taught her to conceal her bastion talent, indestructible skin, muscles and bones. In a world where talents are common and varied, no one trusts a bastion, they're too powerful. Hiding failed to keep True's parents alive, but moments before their murder, True's mum pointed her to Logan Dyer, a famed recluse assassin who adopted and trained
orphaned True. So
it sounds like there's a lot of like TV shows and books about babysitters, right? Wasn't there one like My Babysitter's a Vampire? And then
something else. But yeah, it sounds
really fun. And the cover was illustrated by Jonathan Bartlett, who's an amazing illustrator.
He's done very like bright
colours, cool things. The next book is Capitana by Cassandra James. It's her debut novel. It was released on the 4th of February 2025 by Hotkey Books. I couldn't work out who designed the cover. It took forever and I couldn't find anything. The main character is called Ximena Real, and the only good pirate is a dead one. That's what she believes. Ximena has spent her life training to become one of the black-cloaked cazadores, sea-faring hunters who capture the pirates pillaging the Luzon Empire. But although Ximena is the top candidate at La Academia, that will not be enough for a daughter of the notorious Reales, pirate captains who were executed for their crimes against the Empire. So when Gasparilla, the most infamous pirate in Lutza's history, attacks the capital, Ximena offers to catch him in exchange for being named a cazadora. The Empire accepts on one condition: she must compete for her cloak against Dante de Leon, the pompous and infuriating son of the High Minister. Knowing this is her chance to prove herself once and for all, Ximena must set out on a dangerous quest across the archipelago to hunt Gasparilla. But no matter how far she sails, her family's pirate legacy continues to haunt her, and she soon has to question the very law she's always fought
to uphold. Oh, that was a lot of reading.
I just really like the idea of reading about pirates. So for any of your children who are interested in pirates, this would be a great read.
Cassandra James,
she's interesting. So yeah, she grew up in a mixed immigrant family with a penchant for storytelling. So becoming a writer was almost inevitable. She recently graduated from Princeton University with a degree in English, focusing on creative writing. And her debut young adult fantasy novel, Capitana, is now available with a sequel to follow in 2026.
so that's exciting. I just think it's really cool about pirates and stuff.
The last book for the 13+ category is Very Dangerous Things by Lauren Munoz. It's a murder mystery. Again, oops. I think I really did realise that I like murder mysteries a lot. But it's not been published yet, so it will be published on the 29th of July 2025 by Penguin Books. And the cover was designed by Maria Fedozieva. And yeah, it's just a murder mystery, so I think a lot of children might enjoy that. Well, I don't know, maybe not. Now we're going into the 15+ category, which I only have 2 books for, so not long left now. The book that I found for them is Of Flame and Fury by Michaela Bridge. She's a debut author, and the book is about an island built from ash and shrouded in fire. Phoenix racing is a sport just as profitable as it is deadly. So the main character, Kel Vada, and her team of underdogs, the Crimson Howlers, are desperate to win the annual races and the fortune that comes with it. It kind of reminds me of like Hunger Games vibes, which is actually something that I wanted to talk about. I noticed that I found a lot of like murder mystery now that I'm looking through this list, and like romance. But I do feel like in general, when I look at like the most popular books for young adults, a lot of them are fantasy based, like The Hunger Games, The 100. Trying to think, Divergent was one for a while, or at least when I was younger. So it's quite interesting to me, and I wonder why that is. Whether we're pushing that onto young adults or whether they really just love fantasy books. So I don't know, it's just something I've noticed. But Michaela Bridge is based in Melbourne, Australia. She loves writing. She likes writing romance, action and horror into fantasies. So there's lots of plot twists, complicated characters and feelings, loud feelings, she says. And this book will be released on the 15th of July 2025 by Macmillan Publishers. So that is another book that you can wait for. Now the last book for the 15+ age range and for the whole podcast that I wanted to talk about is this book called You Started It by Jackie Khalile. It was released already on the 20th of May by Tundra Books, and it's just a romance basically. As you can tell, it's very romance-like, but it's cool because it's about a girl named Jamie, and her and this boy named Axel have nothing in common aside from their Arab heritage. So it's quite an interesting thing to kind of explore that heritage aspect for them. Yeah, I just like that. And then, yeah, I think this is cool that Jackie Khalile, I'm gonna mess this up. Jackie Khalile, I'm gonna say it like that. She's like very passionate about writing books with positive representation of people of different cultures and backgrounds, which I think is really cool, and it's nice to see that more people are doing that. Now that I've talked your ear off and my mouth is now very dry, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was really fun to kind of explore these books. and yeah, make a list of books that have been released this year for you guys that are interested. So I hope that, let me know if any of you guys have read any of these books, or how you're going to implement them into your teaching, or yeah, day-to-day life, I don't know. Just let me know, it'd be really fun to hear from you guys, and thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely week. Take care, bye bye.